He never expected that a single word spoken without a sound would change the course of his life forever. But standing in the rain, watching two tiny girls press their hands to their chests in fear and confusion while strangers brushed past them without a glance, Marcus Reed felt something inside him shift, as if fate itself had tapped him on the shoulder. And he didn't know it yet, but by the time the city lights flickered on that evening, he would walk home with more than just his son. He would walk home with a story that would bind hearts, open doors, and heal wounds he didn't know were still bleeding. Marcus had always been the kind of man who noticed things. Maybe it came from being a single dad. Maybe from the countless nights he stayed awake listening to the silence of his small apartment while his 7-year-old son slept beside him. Or maybe it came from years of trying to be everything to a boy who had already lost too much. Whatever the reason, he noticed the little red shoes first. They were soaked through, splashing nervously on the wet pavement. Then he noticed the matching dresses, the tiny pigtails with identical curls, and the way the two little girls clung to each other like they were the only safe thing left in the world. It was raining hard enough that most people kept their heads down, umbrellas tilted, feet rushing toward the warm glow of shop windows. But Marcus had paused to fix the strap of his son's backpack. Liam stood quietly beside him, his small hand gripping Marcus's arm for balance. The boy had his father's eyes, deep, thoughtful, the kind of eyes that notice things too. "Dad," Liam whispered, tugging at his sleeve. "They look scared." Marcus followed his son's gaze. The twins were standing outside a grocery store, their tiny faces pale, lips trembling. They were moving their hands quickly, not waving, not pointing, but shaping soft gestures in the air. Signing. Marcus recognized it immediately. They were deaf. The realization hit him in the chest like a jolt. His late wife had been deaf, and though she never got to teach Liam much before she passed, Marcus had learned enough sign language to speak to her, to understand her world, to love her in all the quiet ways she needed. Even after she was gone, he practiced, out of respect, out of memory, out of hope that one day it might matter again. And now, watching these two little girls desperately trying to communicate with a world that wasn't paying attention, he knew it mattered today. Marcus placed a gentle hand on Liam's shoulder. "Stay close to me, okay?" Liam nodded, gripping his father's arm. Marcus approached the twins slowly, not wanting to startle them. They looked up at him with wide, frightened eyes far too young to be this lost. He crouched down to their level, letting the rain soak his hair, his shirt, his jeans. The city noise faded behind him. He lifted a hand and signed the very first word he had ever learned from his wife. "Hello." The twins froze. Their small chests rose and fell, then almost in perfect unison. Their faces lit up, not fully, not safely, but with the first flicker of hope. One of them, the slightly braver one, touched her fingertips to her chest and signed back her name. Marcus smiled softly and signed his. Liam watched, curious, stepping a little closer. The second twin looked up at the boy, her fear melting into interest as she studied his backpack and his rain-damp hair. She shyly waved at him, and although she didn't speak, the gesture was clear enough. Liam waved back with a grin. Behind Marcus, the sound of quick footsteps splashing through puddles grew louder. He turned his head and saw a woman running toward them, a blonde woman in a cream suit, hair plastered to her forehead from the rain, face streaked with worry. She was gasping, stumbling slightly as she dodged pedestrians. "Girls," she cried. The twins flinched at the sound of her voice but didn't run. Marcus stood slowly as she reached them, collapsing to her knees as she wrapped both children in her arms. Her breath trembled with relief, her hands shaking as she checked their faces, their arms, their dresses, like she was afraid they might disappear if she looked away. oh my God, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. I turned for 1 second, just 1 second, and they were gone. I thought... Her voice broke. Marcus stepped back, giving her space, but the woman looked up at him quickly, her eyes locking on his as if searching for answers. Were they okay? Were they scared? Did they... Marcus lifted his hand gently and signed slowly so she could see every motion. "They're safe. They're okay." The woman's eyes widened, shock and gratitude mixing into something soft and vulnerable. You sign," she whispered. "A little," Marcus replied. The twins, still pressed against their mother, peeked at him with shy smiles. The woman took a shaky breath. Thank you. Thank you so much. Everyone was just walking by. They couldn't hear me, and they couldn't ask anyone for help. Her voice cracked again. Marcus nodded with understanding. I know, he said quietly. People don't always see what's right in front of them. She wiped her cheeks. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't stopped. Liam tugged Marcus's shirt again. Dad, can the girls come under our umbrella? It's still raining. Marcus smiled at his son's kindness. Sure, bud. He held the umbrella over the twins and their mother while Liam scooted closer so everyone could fit. The twins looked up at the boy with curiosity. One reached out and touched the cartoon pin on his backpack. Liam grinned proudly. The mother watched the interaction with soft, wet eyes. They don't usually warm up to strangers so fast, she murmured. They've had a hard time recently. Marcus nodded. Kids sense when they're safe. The rain eased into a mist, and the woman finally took a long, calming breath. My name is Claire, she said. Marcus, he replied. And this is Liam. Claire smiled at the boy. Thank you for sharing the umbrella. Liam shrugged shyly. It's okay. Claire looked back at Marcus. Do you have someone close who's deaf? You sign so naturally. His chest tightened slightly. My wife. She passed a few years ago. Her expression softened with regret. I'm sorry. Marcus nodded. It's okay. She would have wanted me to help someone else with it. Claire took a long look at him then, a look filled with a quiet understanding, like she recognized that loss lived in him, the same way fear lived in her. Two people carrying different kinds of hurt but meeting in the middle. The girls slipped their hands into Claire's, one on each side. She looked exhausted, relieved, grateful. If you hadn't noticed them. Marcus shook his head. Anyone would have stopped. Claire let out a breathy laugh. I've lived in this city long enough to know that's not true. Marcus didn't argue. He just watched the twins hug their mother's legs, and he felt a warmth spread through him, chasing away the cold rain that had soaked into his clothes. Let me walk you to your car, he offered. Just to be safe. Claire hesitated only a moment before nodding. Thank you. Liam caught each twin's attention and signed slowly with both hands, even though he only knew a few signs. Friends? The twins looked at each other, then giggled silently and nodded with bright smiles. Claire covered her mouth, moved beyond words. Did you teach him that? She whispered. His mom did, Marcus said softly. They walked together through the rain-washed streets, the twins hopping over puddles, Liam showing them how to balance on the curb, Claire watching her daughters with a tenderness that made Marcus's chest ache. At the parking lot, Claire buckled the twins into their car seats, kissing their foreheads again and again. When she closed the door, she leaned against the car for a moment, gathering herself. I owe you more than I can ever repay, she said. You don't owe me anything, Marcus replied. But she shook her head. I mean it. If you hadn't understood them. If you hadn't cared enough to stop, Marcus offered a gentle smile. I'm just glad they're okay. Claire bit her lip, hesitating. Would you maybe let me buy you and Liam dinner sometime? I know it's not enough, but you don't have to, Marcus said. I know, she replied softly, but I want to. Marcus looked down at Liam, who grinned and nodded enthusiastically. Okay, Marcus said. Dinner sounds nice. Claire smiled fully for the first time, the tension leaving her shoulders. Good, I'll text you. She got into her car, waved one more thankful, emotional goodbye, and drove off slowly, watching them through the rear window until the car disappeared around the corner. Marcus and Liam stood there in the fading rain for a moment, shoulders touching, the quiet settling around them like a warm blanket. Dad, Liam said suddenly, if we didn't stop today, the girls would still be lost. Marcus looked down at his son, brushing a wet strand of hair from his forehead. Yeah, he murmured, but we were meant to stop. Sometimes people cross paths for a reason. Liam nodded thoughtfully. Mom would be proud of you. Marcus swallowed hard, blinking against a sudden burn in his eyes. I hope so, bud. Liam took his father's hand. Can we learn more signs? So I can talk to them better? Marcus's heart tightened with something deep, warm, and healing. Yeah, he whispered. Yeah, we can. As many signs as you want. They started walking home. the city lights reflecting in the puddles beneath their feet. The rain had stopped completely now, leaving the world washed clean and glistening. Marcus didn't know what dinner with Claire would bring. He didn't know if the twins would remember him in a week or a month. He didn't know if this moment meant something big or something small, but he knew this. He had spoken one word, one silent, tender word, and it had changed everything. "Hello." And sometimes he realized that was all it took for fate to unfold.